If I was asked to divide x cubed plus 4x squared plus 15x plus 22 by x plus 2, I could do it using long division. If I'm using long division, I would have to put x plus 2 outside of the house and put x cubed plus 4x squared plus 15x plus 22 inside the house. From there, I would ask myself, x times what would get me x cubed? So I'm asking myself, x times what would get me x cubed? And I would know that it would be x times x squared. So I'll go ahead and put it above the x squared term. I always put it above the x squared term. And then I take this x squared that I just put above it, and I multiply it by x, and I multiply it by 2. X squared times x is x cubed. I always want it to be exactly what is written. And then I'll have x squared times 2, which is 2x squared. From there, I will have to remember that I am subtracting x cubed plus 2x squared from x cubed plus 4x squared. So when you're subtracting polynomials, you change the sign. If that's a positive x cubed, it's going to change to a negative. That was a positive 2x squared, so that's going to get changed to a negative 2x squared. So then when I do the subtraction, x cubed minus x cubed is 0. I always have to make sure it gets to be 0 at the beginning. And then 4x squared minus 2x squared is 2x squared. I bring down my next term, and I start all over again. So I'm going to ask myself, x times what will get me 2x squared? The answer is 2x. So I'll say, okay, it's 2x. I put it over the x term because I like to line up my x squares. I like to line up my x's. I like to line up my constants. So it's a positive 2x. And now I'm going to do the same thing I did before. So I'm going to take this 2x, I'm going to multiply it by x, 2x times 2. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 2 is positive 4x. I have to remember that I'm subtracting, which means I have to change every sign. If it's positive, it turns negative. If it was negative, it turned positive. I do the math. 2x squared minus 2x squared perfectly cancels out. It needs to be 0. It got to be 0, so I'm happy. 15x minus 4x is 11x. Bring down my next term. Start all over again. X times what equals 11x? The answer is 11. Since 11 is a constant, I'm going to put it over my constant. I'm going to take this 11, multiply it by x squared, multiply it by x, multiply it by 2. So 11 times x is 11x. 11 times 2 is a positive 22. I have to remember that I'm subtracting, so I'm changing all the signs. That positive 11 turns into a negative. That positive 22 turns into a negative 22. 11x minus 11x cancels out. And in this case, 22 minus 22 is 0. So there's no remainder here. There's nothing else to bring down. So I'm done, and there's no remainder. If there was a remainder, then I would have to put plus the remainder over x plus 2, if there was a remainder. But this is my answer right here. That means that x cubed plus 4x squared plus 15x plus 22 divided by x plus 2 equals x squared plus 2x plus 11. The cool thing about this is that I don't have to use long division because my leading coefficient is 1. Only because the leading coefficient is 1, I can use synthetic division. Synthetic division allows me to take this x plus 2, set it equal to 0, and solve it. That means that I'll have x equals -2. I'll take -2, put it in a box, go up, and copy each of my coefficients, 1, 4, 15, and 22. I'll copy those down here. What was it? 1, 4, 15, and 22. And from there, I am all set up to do synthetic division. I'm going to walk you through what synthetic division is right now. So, one more time. I went up to the beginning. I took what is being divided into the dividend. So basically, I took the divisor and I set it equal to 0 and I solved it. When I set it equal to 0 and I solved it, I got this. X equals -2. I put that in my box. Then I went up. I took all of the leading coefficients in order. If I was missing a term, I would have to put a 0 as a placeholder. And I wrote them right here. So now I'm ready to do synthetic division. When you do synthetic division, you bring down your very first number. So I'm bringing down the 1. And then you take this -2, you multiply it by every number down here that you write down here. So every number you write down here, you're going to multiply it by -2. So since my first number is a 1, I'm going to do -2 times 1. -2 times 1 is -2. Every time you multiply the number in the box by the number under the line, you write it under the very next number. From there, you just go ahead and you do the addition or subtraction. I have +4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then I'm going to start all over again. So I'm going to take this -2. I wrote a new number underneath, which means I need to multiply this -2 by the new number underneath. -2 times 2 is -4. Now that I've written the number under the very next number, I'm going to do the addition or subtraction. 15 minus 4. 15 minus 4 is 11. All right, I wrote a new number underneath, which means I have to take this -2 and multiply it by that new number underneath. I'm going to write it underneath the very next number. -2 times 11 is -22. From there, what do? The math. I add or subtract. In this case, I need to subtract 22 minus 22. 0. The very last number you write on the bottom is your remainder. And the numbers that you have written next to the remainder is your answer. If you notice, we started off with the x cubed. Every time you do synthetic division, you go 1 underneath the power, your highest power. So since this was an x cubed right here, so this right here was an x cubed, the answer will be an x squared right here. And then you just count down. That's an x squared, so that's just an x. That's a constant. And my answer is 1x squared plus 2x plus 11 with no remainder. And if I had a remainder, then I would have plus the remainder, whatever number that was. If the remainder was 5, I'd have 5 over what I started off with, which was x plus 2, if I had a remainder. But this is my answer right here. And if you notice, it's the same exact answer. You'll also notice that the numbers that I wrote on the second line, the -2, the -4, the -22, they are here. -2, -4, -22. The numbers I ended up with underneath here, underneath the line in my answer, the 1, the 2, the 11, they were the first numbers. They were here before I changed the signs. But they were these numbers here. So we're doing the same math. It's the exact same math. The same way we figured out x times what to go into x cubed plus x squared is the same math we did down here. It's just shorter, quicker, and it's just nicer. It looks nicer, and for some reason students freak out less when they do synthetic division than long division. But it's the same exact math. It's just more of a bam bam boom. What do you need to do?